Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. Obviously, we start with the box score of Sunday's game. The Miami Dolphins finally pull off a victory, I think after, a 2-game skid, which felt longer because of the bye week. We obviously got the victory 21-17, and I have a lot of thoughts about this game. It was really good to come out of this game with the win. It was an emotional win. But it definitely was one of the more disappointing performances. I've never felt this way coming out of a win before. It kind of felt... I don't really know what the best way to explain it. It just didn't feel gratifying. I felt like our performance was pretty bad, to be honest with you. And we're going to get into that today. We're going to start with... I guess we'll save the defense for last because we have to talk about... Obviously, we have to talk about Josh Allen. So we'll start with the offense, which was probably the worst part of the day, to be honest with you. We'll start with Ryan. Ryan Tannehill finished with 16 completions with 24 attempts, 137 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Receiving, Devontae Parker finished with 4 catches for 43 yards. Kenny Stills finished with 4 catches for 37 and a touchdown. DP obviously had that sick touchdown in the end zone. Bryce Butler, 4 catches for 25 yards. Kenyon Drake, 2 catches for 13. Frank Gore, 1 catch for 10. Nick O'Leary, 1 catch for 9. And to be honest with you, Ryan had the best day out of any of them. Obviously, getting the 3 scores. We were 3 for 3 in the end zone. I really felt like Ryan was forcing a lot of passes today. We have a lack of weapons on this team, and it really showed in this game in particular. We really don't have the explosiveness that we once had with Albert and Jakeem, and that really limits some of the creative play calling that Adam Gase we saw in the first 3 games of the season when we had everybody healthy. Definitely the explosiveness isn't there, and you can really tell. And I feel like Tannehill had a pretty dang good game for what he had around him. The offensive line and pass protection was pretty up and down the entire game. There were times where we had good pass protection, and there were times where it was just could not have been worse at times. Like, it was a very it was swinging left and right, far left, far right. It was really inconsistent. But I thought Ryan played the best out of any of the offensive players on Sunday, other than Laramie. But I mean that's probably the only one you could really make an argument for. And in terms of the other, the guards continue to really struggle. Ted Larson is god-awful. I don't even want to keep him as a backup next year. I really don't know why we haven't benched him yet. He deserves to be benched. This game meant a lot to me. I think it meant a lot to all of us, because if we came out and lost it, first of all, we're one of the best home teams in the National Football League, but if we came out and lost this game, I mean, it would definitely put, especially how we lost last game, and how Adam Gase lost that game for us, and we really beat ourselves in that game. We should have beat one of the hottest teams in the NFL. If we win that game, win this game, we're 7-5. If we win the Bengals game, we would have been 8-4, and we would have been one of the best teams in the AFC right now. So this season really is a very bittersweet season, and it sucks because this team should be a lot better than it is right now, and unfortunately, it's not. But we'll get into the rush. I distracted myself. Ted Larson he should be benched. Jesse Davis continues to have an up and down season. He's had his ups and he's had his downs this season. I would say his worst games, I would say, were against the Lions and in this game. The sack that he gave it to Lorenzo Alexander. I mean, you got to kind of tip your hat off to Lorenzo. Obviously, Jesse's used to bigger, D lineman. He's not used to a pass rusher at that level like Lorenzo's at, and especially obviously he's a veteran player. So he got him with a pretty good move on that spin move, but Jesse's had his ups and downs this season, especially in the running game. So I like Jesse. I think he's a good player. Ted Larson continues to play terrible. I mean, the man is in I don't even know how many years he's been in the league, a very long time, and he's committing the dumbest penalties of all time. I mean, the silent count penalties that we suffered last game because of him were terrible. This game he had a couple of really bad penalties as well. He continues to just be god awful, and it's honestly getting to the point. Listen, he's not good enough to start, and he doesn't need to start. I don't care. I mean, it can't be that much worse, but who knows? Maybe it is. I mean, I'm not in the practice of crapping. I'm not there every day, so I can't say, oh, this person needs to start over this person. All I know is Ted Larson is not good enough to start in the National Football League. And it would have been awesome to see Daniel Kilgore and Josh Sitton and players like that play together. So let's get into the running game. It was pretty bad. It wasn't bad. We had our moments. We popped a pretty big run. Kenyon finished with 7 carries for 31 yards. Frank Gore finished with 8 carries for 21. Brandon Bolden 1 for 10. Kalen 4 for 3. Tannehill had 3 carries for -5 yards. It's hard to really judge the running game because certain plays in the running game, I don't think we stuck to it enough. In certain moments in the game, I feel like some of the run plays that we did call weren't really great play design. Adam, we'll get into that here in a second. But overall, this offense, you can tell that it just is missing a lot of things. First of all, the guard position. Other than Jesse Davis, the center position isn't that great either right now. The interior of the offensive line needs help, and that's pretty obvious the last few games. I mean, we're getting pressure up the middle fairly easy at a consistent rate, and plus the penalties, that doesn't hurt, or that doesn't help. You can see that the explosiveness isn't there. The lack of a number one receiver on this team is very apparent. We don't really have somebody who can take over a game right now. We have a lot of pretty dang good role players. Kenyon Drake is a special player. Frank Gore obviously is the old reliable vet. But you could really see that, and especially in the passing game, we're lacking that Antonio Brown, that DeAndre Hopkins, that Mike Evans, Juju Smith-Schuster, someone who can take over a game. We don't have that in the passing game right now. We have a bunch of inconsistent. I mean, Kenny Stills is a good player, but he's not a number one receiver. Devontae Parker is the most inconsistent player in Dolphins history. Where are we getting our consistency from? Say what you want about Tannehill. He threw for 3 touchdowns against the number one pass defense in the National Football League. If you don't know that about the Bills, they have the best pass defense in the league. He threw for 3 touchdowns with nothing more than paper clips and paper towels. So he doesn't have a lot of talent around him, especially right now. And even at the beginning of the season, dude, like we still didn't have. I mean, Albert. Who knows if Albert was going to be that, because he really was having a season where that could have been a legitimate number one. Like, he was playing like a legitimate number one. But you could tell the lack of explosiveness on this offense, the lack of consistency. I really don't think it comes from Ryan as much as it does from a lot of other areas on the field. I'm not saying Ryan's perfect, but it is what it is. I mean, there are definitely obviously there are deficiencies in this offense that we need to fix after the season. I think the interior is a huge area of concern still. I think the tackles are pretty good. I don't think Juwan is Juwan. He's gonna have his moments, but I think he's still a pretty solid tackle. Laramie's one of the best in the league right now. But we need a consistent player in the passing game to help the passing attack, and that's pretty dang obvious. We do not have a superstar to throw to right now, and it hurts. It hurts us. I really do feel that way. We don't have a reliable receiver, especially right now. And again, Albert could have listened. Albert was playing like that. So in closing on offense and what I thought of the performance, which was obviously not very good. It was pretty bad. Other than the 3 touchdowns, there was nothing really much. I mean, 3 touchdowns is 3 touchdowns, but the 3 touchdowns that we had were a really good plays by Ryan. So the last thing I have to say is, I mean, if you want to break down all 3 touchdowns, the pass to Devontae, that was a really good, high, accurate ball by Ryan. the pass to Kenyon, even though it looked awkward. If you watch this, I mean, all of you, if you're listening to this show, then you've watched all of the Dolphins games. Anytime we run action towards a blitz and we're trying to, hit Kenyon on a hot route, it's been batted down. So I think Ryan had that in his head because it's been batted down so many times this year that he just wanted to get it up and get it to him any way he could. So that was a good play by Ryan. And then the pass to Kenny, it looked really bad. It looked like Jordan Poyer should have picked it off. If you watch the play again, it was a beautiful throw, and he put it where it needed to be, and really nobody else had a chance at Kenny if you go back and look at that play. So it was a good decision by Ryan. It was a good throw. He wasn't perfect. That throw, the pick that he threw to Micah Hyde, was one of the worst interceptions. It might be the worst pick I've ever seen him throw. Because of the situation, we had momentum. Xavier just got that sick interception. Ran the route for, I think, Kelvin Benjamin. And he made Kelvin look like a high school receiver. So that was the only bad play of the game. But I still feel like Ryan had the best day out of anybody on offense. In closing, we talked about the playmaking ability, the interior, the offensive line, all that other stuff. I would say the last thing I would have to say about the offense, Adam Gase almost cost us this game. The Wildcat play was so bad. I mean, if you want, how about just line Kalen Ballage up under center and we run a quarterback sneak with him? I mean, seriously, like, anything else could have been better for that than the play that we ran. I mean, no, but they didn't, dude. Nobody guarded the outside receivers. Obviously, one of them was Ryan Tannehill, but nobody covered them. I mean, they all it was like run committing in Madden. Nobody accounted for the pass on that play, and it was just an easy. I don't know what he was thinking. I honest to God don't. That was a huge head scratcher. You got Frank Gore, who's one of the best short yardage backs. If top 2, top 3. You can make an argument that he's the best of all time. So it doesn't make much sense to me how you don't line Tannehill up under center and at least give the threat of a pass because he's a quarterback. Like if the corner comes all the way down the line of scrimmage, then we're gonna make you pay for it. That was my pug. Excuse him. What type was I? The perfect example of that is last week when we played the Colts. They did sort of the same thing on 4th and 1, except they had Jacoby Brissett back there who could make a pass. So it was just a really bad play call in that situation. I don't understand what the thought process was, and if Adams' excuse was, "Oh, we didn't block it well," that's not a very good excuse. That was a very bad call, and the Bills took advantage of it. So let's get to the defensive side of the football. And what I mean by I was upset after, there's a lot, you see, this game really highlighted a lot of deficiencies on this roster, in my opinion. So let's get into the defensive side of the football. We'll start with the running game for the Bills. Josh Allen finished with 9 carries for 135 yards. That's not really the running game. I feel like that's more pass rushing stuff. LaShawn McCoy, 15 carries for 52. He averaged 3.5 yards a carry. Murphy had 1 carry for 7. Chris Ivory had 6 for 4, and he averaged not even a yard a carry. I thought the run defense was pretty good. Bottling up Shady McCoy has been a problem for us since he's been in Buffalo, and we did a very good job of making sure he didn't wreck the game. So I feel like the run defense was actually pretty decent. And again, the whole Josh Allen stuff, that's rush lane. That's pass down stuff. So it's not really, hiking the ball and turning around handing it off. It's a completely different animal. Let's start with Josh Allen. He finished with 18 completions on 33 attempts. He had 231 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Receiving wise, see here. Zay Jones didn't lead them in receiving? He had to have. I think, Zay Jones finished with 4 catches for 67 yards. Isaiah McKenzie, I think his first name is Isaiah. 4 catches for 46. Patrick DeMarco, 1 catch for 38. Foster, 1 catch for 27. Kelvin Benjamin, 2 catches for 20. LaShawn McCoy, 4 catches for 12 yards. Deontay Thompson, 1 catch for 12. And Charles Clay, 1 catch for 9. So, nobody went over 100 yards, which isn't a surprise. The secondary has played very well throughout the entire season. So, that doesn't surprise me at all. But I guess we'll save Josh Allen's performance for the end, because I do want to get into some other stuff before we do, because I'm going to talk I don't want to lose my train of thought here. Like I said, this game really highlighted a lot of the deficiencies of this football team. On the defense, it did as well. Again, we covered the running game. I thought they did a pretty good job. I thought the linebackers did a very good job in the running game in this game. Kiko Alonso came up with some pretty good instinctive plays where he just wrecked the running game for them. But let's get into Josh Allen's. It was really the Josh Allen show for the Bills offense. It really, really was. I want to break this down into different aspects. Number one, I thought the pass rush for us was god-awful, and it's been very bad all season long. This dates back to when Andre Branch was like, the player, teams are getting the ball out of their hands quick. That's bull crap. That's not true. This is a perfect example of that. Josh Allen, he's a rookie, first of all, but he does not get the ball out quick. He holds on to the ball a lot. He's always trying to make plays with his legs. He never gets rid of even when he was in college. He's very Big Ben-esque in that way. He doesn't give up on a play, and he's always been that way. And he's not Tom Brady. If he sees something, he's gonna hit it. He doesn't see the field very well. He's young. I mean, obviously, there are people open underneath where he just passed up just to run it. But the pass rush was non-existent. I mean, we were getting posted up by not very great. I mean, they weren't. It was like we were going against Jonathan Ogden and Anthony Munoz out there. It really doesn't make much sense, to be honest with you, why this pass rush continues to be this bad. Now, people, I guess some of the counter argument to that be, well, Josh made plays. There were plays where Josh was holding onto the ball 4 to 5 seconds on a consistent basis, dude. The touchdown passes that he had, I mean, he literally, dude, he had all day, bro. There were times where he had an egregious amount of time to pass the football. The pass rush was non-existent in this game. Not to mention the rush lanes were god-awful. I don't know what we thought I don't know if we thought Josh Allen couldn't move at all. He just played a game against the Jaguars where he was running all over them. He had 100 yards if it wasn't for kneel downs at the end of the game. So he just came off of a game where he rushed for 100 yards against a very athletic defense with Miles Jack, Telvin Smith, who are the most athletic linebackers in the game. Not to mention Yannick Ngakoue and Calais Campbell for the Jaguars up front. They're not playing very well right now, but they still have talent on that team. And he just rushed for 100 yards on that team. So I don't understand. Like, the game plan wasn't great. I felt, we'll get into that here in a second, but the pass rush was just non-existent. The entire game. It was really sad. He had all day to sit back there and really survey the field, and really didn't make it hard on him at any point in the game as a defense. I mean, the secondary did a really good job because of how bad the defensive line was playing. And again, there were plays where we got to him, and either it was a bad penalty or he just made a great play, made somebody miss, and that's good. That you got to tip your hat to him. I mean, we did our job up until a point. Where he just made a great play. So there were those, but mostly, dude, there was just too many plays where he had way too much time. I don't really want to sound like, because I'm a Dolphins fan, so it does sound very biased. But everybody's really hyping Josh up, and some of the plays he made on Sunday were insane. They were ridiculous. Especially even though the last play didn't work out for him. I mean, that play was I don't know the last time I've ever really. It was like we were playing college football out there. It was honestly ridiculous the way he kept that play alive. It's very Cam Newton-esque, if I'm being honest with you guys. But I feel like if the next time we play him, I would plug every gap in the game and I would literally send zero-man blitzes at Josh. He doesn't have playmakers on the outside. His offensive line isn't that great. I don't think it's necessarily him that would crumble under pressure. I think it's the players around him. He doesn't get the ball. He doesn't make fast reads. He doesn't get the ball out of his hands quick. He's not very accurate with the football, especially in the short passing game. That was pretty evident in this game. So next time we play him, I'm sitting in the house at him every single down. Send as many players as I can at him. give him a different looks up front, different game stunts and stuff of that nature. Really make it hard on him. I felt like we really didn't do that. I mean, there was a lot of times where we were three-man rushes, a lot of spies on the field. We just weren't aggressive enough, and I don't really listen, he had a great performance. He's still a rookie. He still did rookie things. There was a lot. I mean, there were plays where he just obviously straight up missed the receiver multiple times. I mean, he missed like 3 huge plays in this game. Two of them were touchdowns. The other one on the sideline where he just overthrew him. So I just want everybody to pump the brakes. He's not the second coming of Jesus. Okay, I do think he does have, whether it's his Achilles heel or it's just the team around him. I think the adjustment we need to make, instead of being like, oh, our rush lanes need to be better, which they do, and we need to spy and stuff, I would be more aggressive. I would really make him make tight throws into coverage, because we have the secondary members to make him do that. So that would be my adjustment on defense next time I'm playing him. I'm not trying, because Josh had a great game. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. I just felt like we gave him a lot of we didn't make it hard on him, man. It was very easy to, this is the National Football League. You give quarterbacks that much time, especially since he's obviously very gifted athletically. He just had too much time back there. But I do want to say this, props to our defense, because it was an emotional game. It was a very physical game. I mean, both teams were gassed. I watched the press conference for the Bills after this game. Highlights of their press conference. Josh said it like he was exhausted. I mean, obviously he was running for his life not running for his life, but he was just running all around the entire game. It was a very exhausting, emotional game, and I was very proud of how our defense played, because our offense did them no favors, especially at the end of the game where we could have sealed it easily, but it was just in my opinion, very poor play call by Adam there. So let's get into the news, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, I want to say this. I am so happy that we won that game. You guys have no idea. I don't think I've been yelling at my TV so much, especially since Jordan Phillips was talking all that smack. I mean, I've never seen such a stupid human being. Listen, we were like, what, first to goal, and he was like trying to get the Bills fit. Like, it was so stupid. Like, he's an idiot, first of all. This game meant a lot for a lot of different reasons. But I do want to say this before, just to put some positive stuff out there, because I feel like I'm being really negative right now. We're one of the best home teams in the National Football League. I think we're 11-1. We're on a 7-game win streak when Ryan Tannehill starts at home, which is ridiculous. Our divisional record since Adam Gase has been here is really good. So I think there are great things. Not to mention some of the young players that have come on strong. There are great things to take away from the season. Even though we should be in a way better position if it wasn't for injuries and just bad luck at times. We should be in a better spot. Even saying all that stuff, I really feel like there's a lot to build on for the future here in Miami. I really do. If we could we're really, 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 really good home team. I think if we make some roster adjustments, we'll be a way better road team next year, and it really should help us out. All right, let's get into the news. This story should get everybody excited, especially if you don't like Tannehill. I'm a huge Tannehill supporter, obviously. Get a lot of flack for that, but there's a lot of Dolphins fans that aren't. This news comes from Pro Football Rumors. The Dolphins are focusing on Justin Herbert. Dolphins Vice President of Football Operations Mike Tannenbaum has been, quote, raving about Oregon quarterback Justin Herbert. Clearly, it's a bit early to be linking NFL teams to collegiate prospects, and Herbert may not even enter the 2019 draft, but Miami's possible interest in Herbert only underscores the Dolphins as a potential destination for a first-round pick next season. As Adam Beasley of the Miami Herald indicated on Wednesday, incumbent starter Ryan Tannehill's 2019 fate with the Dolphins is up in the air, so Miami certainly could be in the market for a young quarterback next spring. So, if you're a Justin Herbert fan and if you want new blood in here, then I guess that's really good news for you. I've seen some stupid Dolphins fans, dude. Like, people asking for calling, like, some really dumb people. I don't understand that. I get it if you don't like Tannehill, but for asking for people like Colin Kaepernick and stuff, that's just retarded, in my opinion. I probably shouldn't use retarded, but you get what I'm saying. It's very stupid. I don't want to offend. I didn't mean that in an offensive way. What do we got next? Oh, okay. We got the fan and Q&A coming up. Just gotta get this stupid thing going. Yeah, but I do think that Justin Herbert news is very interesting. I mean, if the Dolphins are really, and listen, Adam Gase has an eye. Listen, Adam Gase has an eye for talent from the quarterback position. If you looked at the quarterbacks that he liked the most coming out of this last draft, he was right in terms of the ones that have been being the ones that have had the best season. He loved Baker Mayfield and he loved Josh Allen. That's, in my opinion, the best two rookie quarterbacks so far this season. Josh Rosen's had a pretty decent rookie. Obviously he's dealing with a very not the most talented roster on the planet Earth. So, that is what it is. But I feel like Josh and Baker have had a really good season, and especially for rookies. And Adam does have a great eye for quarterback talent. And obviously the story was that if Josh Allen was there, that it would have been very hard for Adam not to pass him up. This is apparently what he said to the CBS commentators before the game. So yeah, but I'm pretty happy with Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's an absolute beast. So let me get this stuff. I don't know why this is taking me so dang long. Just to buy time. Again, I mean, obviously it's very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. In my opinion on Justin Herbert, he just doesn't have that it factor that you look for. Like Tua has that it factor. I mean, Kyler Murray has that it factor, but he's very much a college player. I don't think any of that is necessarily going to translate to the National Football League. What's his stupid name from Ohio State? I can't remember. I don't think. Ohio State doesn't have the greatest track record when it comes to NFL quarterbacks. I just don't think he has that big of an it factor either. I don't know. Just none of them scream franchise quarterback to me, at least. Alright, so let's get into the fan Q&A. Obviously, this is where you guys ask questions. If you guys want to be a part of that, if you made it this far into the show, make sure to go check out the channel. This first question comes from Ron. He says, "Are you with me on using this draft, first 3 or 4 picks on getting a stud guard or two and a stud offensive tackle? At this point, I don't think I would matter whom our quarterback is. They are getting killed out there. Larson and Davis, yikes, bro." I agree with you. I do think it needs to be fixed. I was talking about, obviously we talked about earlier in the show. It's pretty bad, and it's very noticeable. Center is a big issue too, man. I don't think when Daniel Kilgore did play, he did not play very well. So the interior of the offensive line needs a massive make. I mean, if Josh Sitton comes back, he can't stay healthy. I mean, his entire career he hasn't been able to stay healthy. So I wouldn't be surprised if we moved on from all 3 of them, just because we can't count on them. So it is what it is. I do agree with you. In terms of offensive tackles, no. I mean, you can only fix so many issues in the draft on the offensive line, unless you just want to draft all offensive linemen, which is obviously isn't going to happen. So I would focus on the interior. But you are right, Ron. I mean, it is a very big issue, and I do think the Dolphins. Who knows how they're going to address it? But I obviously wouldn't mind if they did that through the draft. This next question comes from Hell Yeah Brother Go Fins. He says, "Who was our best quarterback in Dan Marino besides Ryan Tannehill?" Who was our best quarterbacks in Dan Marino? Obviously Bob Greasy, 2-time Super Bowl champion, went to 3 Super Bowls in the 70s, 3-time AFC champion, Hall of Famer, one of the best quarterbacks in AFC history, one of the best quarterbacks overall. So yeah, Bob. Other than Bob, it's a pretty short list. I mean, Earl Merle obviously guided us to 17-0 season. Obviously, Bob finished it out. So I guess other than Ryan and Dan, I would say Earl and Bob. Brandon says, "How much more?" This question comes from Brandon. He says, "How much more years do you think we have of Not very much. Cameron Wake. I think he's a defensive end out of an era. he can get pressure on the quarterback, but he's having a very hard time of getting them to the ground. A lot of quarterbacks these days are super athletic. I feel like you have to have a really athletic defensive end to get some of these guys on the ground. He's also not getting pressure. Nobody on this defensive line is getting enough pressure on a consistent basis. So now I wouldn't say very much longer. John Nolan, this question comes from John Nolan. He says, how realistic are our playoff chances after today's win? I'm trying to think of all the scenarios right now. I don't think the Broncos are a threat. They just lost Chris Harris. The Ravens, I feel like, are going to fall. I just don't believe in the Ravens. I think the best they do is probably 8 wins. I would have to look at their schedule, though. I don't know their schedule. If I looked, I think they play Pittsburgh again, which I think is a loss for them. I just don't think that team... Lamar has not impressed me at all, so I don't think that team's going to last very long. But I definitely would have to look at their schedule. But yeah, I think they're pretty. We just have to win, man. I don't think a 9-17 makes the playoffs this year in terms of the 6th seed. So we have to win. Let's see here. All Kobe 13 says, why does Ted Larson have a job? That's a great question. I don't want to. It's obviously he's a professional football player. Not to take anything away. I mean, none of us, criticizing this guy could do his job in a million years. But he's just not doing a very good job, dude. He's struggling hard. He's just not a very good guard. He's not. And he's killing drives. Whether he's giving up sacks, he's not doing a good enough job in the running game, or he's getting penalized. This next question comes from Brandon. He says, do you think we will trade Rashad Jones? I really hope not, but after this year I'm quite skeptical. No, I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, Minkah Fitzpatrick, he's a great player. I think he's a better player than Rashad. I think he's more fundamentally sound. I think he's a smarter player. I think he obviously prepares better. You can just tell. Minkah's just a very special player. So it's really up to the Dolphins what they want to do schematically. It probably is going to depend if Matt Burke keeps his job or not. Whether whoever comes in and either wants to keep Minkah at free safety or continue to use him how we've been using him as a Swiss Army knife. So I think it's really going to depend on what happens with the defensive coordinated situation. This next question comes from JackPack18. He says, is Gase getting high at halftime? Why call a wildcat run on 3rd and 1 when the whole playbook is open? Also, how the hell does Charles Clay get that open when the game... I'll tell you how he gets that open is when a quarterback has 10 to 12 seconds to pass the football. I don't care how good your secondary is, especially how gassed our defense was. It's almost impossible. It's impossible to guard for 5 seconds, let alone 10. That's how he got that open. And especially, you got to take into account, he was reversing all the way across the field, man, from one sideline to the other. So the secondary was moving with the receivers. I mean, that's almost impossible. It is impossible. It's not almost. It is impossible to defend that long. So that's how Charles got that wide open. It has more to do with our defense than it does anything. To be honest with you, I do not blame our defensive line for that play. As ridiculous as that sounds, I don't. I think Josh just made a great play. And if Josh wasn't so tired, that would have been an easy touchdown. It was not a very good throw, and obviously, it ended up in an incompletion. But give credit to our defense. I mean, they did the best job they possibly could. Again, the offense, we really should have blown the Bills out. We really should have, but we didn't. We had all the opportunities in the world to do so, and we just didn't complement. You think about the interception. We didn't get any points off of that. We couldn't close out the game on that wild-caught 3rd one. There was plenty of penalty times where we were up a touchdown and couldn't continue to pile on. The offense didn't do the defense any favors. This next question comes from Brandon. He says, "Are you really still a Tannehill believer? I mean, he has played regular ball, but this is his seventh season. I mean, the man just threw 3 touchdowns with not a lot of people to throw to. Granted, the pick he threw to Mike Hyde was not very good. He was forcing the ball to Kenny a lot. But to be honest with you, Kenny's really the only really reliable guy that he has left. And the offensive line was not protecting well. And that throw that he had to Devontae Parker that was deep and incomplete, I still do not know how he got enough arm strength on that ball to get it down there. So yeah, I am still a Tannehill believer, Brandon. The next question goes to Brandon. He says, "What are our draft needs in your perspective? Pass rusher is probably number 1 because there's so many good ones. We have a chance to get a superstar in the first round. I would say offensive guard and receiver are our 3 biggest offseason needs. Jimmy and probably some kind of situational defensive lineman who can help us stop the run." Jimmy says, "Should we sign Kareem Hunt in the same backfield as Kenny Drake? Could be special." Listen, I don't want to judge you, Jimmy. I love how you asked that question like Kareem never did anything wrong. It would be great in a perfect world, obviously, but Kareem did beat up a woman and obviously kicked her while she was down. It was a very disturbing video, to say the least. So, I mean, no. Nah, I don't really care if we get Kareem or not. I think Kenyon is good enough. And Frank has played well, complimenting him. This next question comes from Douglas. He says, "I think Gase and Tannehill should both stay. 11-1 in the last 12 home games says something. Coaches' teams tend to get better with more experience and continuity. We need more offensive help. Hang on. We need more offensive help. It is a joke how much Ryan gets hit. If we beat New England next week at home," again, this question comes from Douglas. "If we beat New England next week at home, do you think we will make the playoffs? And thanks for all the podcasts." Do I think we'll make the playoff? I think the hardest games we're going to play is New England and Minnesota on the road. But I still think we have a tough... Excuse me. I still think we have a tough game against Minnesota, even if we do beat New England. And Buffalo on the road is not easy either, but hopefully Matt gets it together. And I appreciate you saying about the podcast. This next question comes from Douglas as well. He says, "Regarding Devontae Parker, we will get 10 cents on the dollar for him at best if we trade him, and nothing if we release him. He frustrates me with glimpses of greatness, and then again always hurt and unavailable. I think it would behoove us to keep him one more year, and maybe just maybe he would want to ball out and become a free agent and get his one chance at a big payday." Well, I mean, this was his 5th-year option year. He had a chance to do that. He didn't do that. I don't think Devontae Parker is a good receiver. I really don't think that. I mean, if he was, he would play like it. I don't think the injury thing, all that other stuff is, to be honest with you, and he has so much talent. He's just super inconsistent for whatever reason. And I think that's what he is. He's just an inconsistent player. Okay. This next question comes from Corporate Gamer. He says, "Tannehill still looks shaky at times and has a too high of a cap. I think in the offseason, I mean, he definitely doesn't have too high of a cap. To see what we can get for him, who do you think?" Dude, I'm telling you guys something right now. Whether you like Tannehill or not, go ahead and get rid of him and see what he does with a different team. Seriously. He'll win a lot of games with a different team. Trust me. He is a very good quarterback. I don't care what anybody says. If you put him on Denver, if you put him on Jacksonville, he will win a lot of games. Trust me. I want to get rid of Tannehill under any... If there was a quarterback that I absolutely loved, of course, I would gun for him, because quarterbacks are few and far between. And again, Joe Montana wasn't safe from it. If Joe Montana was, and Brett Favre and Joe Montana weren't safe from it, then Ryan Tannehill isn't either. So, of course, I would go out there and get and I'm not comparing Tannehill to either one of those guys. Of course not. But I'm saying I don't care who you are. That doesn't stop anybody from going and getting somebody in the first round. Malik Power says, we need a defender that is almost like William Hayes, that is a great run stopper, that can stop tight ends and mobile quarterbacks. If we have somebody that can guard all three, we'll be good on defense, because of the Bills game, Charles Clay could have made that catch and would have ended the defense season. I don't know who was guarding Charles Clay. I don't know why they left him out. Dude, he was locked up for 10 seconds and then got open because Josh Allen wants to be Mr. Slippery, dude. I'm probably exaggerating. It was an eternity for a play to last that long. I honestly don't understand why you people, or I shouldn't say it like that, like I'm attacking you guys. I don't mean it to sound like that. You guys have to understand, he ran sideline to sideline like 2 or 3 times, bro. Like, the reason he was wide open is because of 17, who wears 17 for the Buffalo Bills. It had nothing to do with our secondary. This next question comes from Brandon. He says, we definitely miss Jarvis Juice Landry for the simple fact no receivers block like he did. I haven't seen college ball this year, but who do you think will be available at the receiver this year? You got Hollywood. What's his name? Or what's his name from? God dang it. From Oklahoma. I'm trying to think of some other good receivers right now who could be stars on the next level. I'm drawing a blank on a couple people just because I can't remember their names right now. But if I had a list in front of me, I could tell you. This next question comes from I'm gonna call you D, dude, because I can't say your name. He says, do you think Gase will reconsider Finn's head coaching job now that Rodgers and Green Bay have a vacancy? No, of course not. This next question comes from Ian. He says, how do you think Ryan Tannehill played today, this season, and he's been good enough to continue playing for Miami at quarterback after this year? Also, how do you think we will do versus the Patriots next weekend? That's a lot in one question. I think Tannehill played pretty good. I think he played the best out of anybody on offense. He did have one bonehead mistake. I felt like he was just trying to force the ball there. And to be honest with you, I feel like the shoulder hurt him on that throw. He made a very similar throw against the 49ers in 2016. This time it was obviously it didn't go in our favor. But I kind of wonder if he couldn't drive it like he wanted to. I don't know. This next question comes from okay, so I think he played pretty good. He's played pretty good. And I like our chances against New England. We're a really good home team. We just need somebody to step up in the passing game, whether that be Gesicki or DP or Kenny. We need somebody to have a big game in that game. This next question, or Kenyon. This next question comes from Chad. He says, Skaggs, big fan of the show, first time commentary. If you were to draft a lineman, who do you go on defense and offensive line if you were to decide? Would you keep RT next year? Personally, I would. Yes, I would keep Tannehill for sure. In terms of I mean, there's a lot of people that I like in the defense. Josh Allen from Kentucky, I think he's going to be a great pass rusher. I just don't know if he fits the scheme. Obviously, Nick Bosa, grown man from Alabama. Grown man from Houston. Obviously, Gary, or I can't remember. I'm so bad with names. I have the worst memory in the world. The kid from Michigan, not the kid, the grown man from Michigan, Rashawn Gary. It's not Rashawn Gary. I can't remember his name right now. All of those guys could be potential Dolphins, who would be very good pass rushers on the next level. This next question comes from Steven. He says, what good did you see from this game? Also, what's your opinion on Butler signing so far? I feel like Ryan played a very good game considering the things that were happening around him. I think, for me, it gives me more confidence in number 17. I thought the secondary played at a pretty high level as well, considering they had 0 pass rush for most of the game. This next question comes from Jimmy. He says, should we consider adding Mike McCarthy or Todd Haley to the staff? No. No, I don't think so. This next question comes from Brandon. He says, I honestly think draft needs our D lineman and O lineman, and we need a quarterback, wide receiver, and one more cornerback. I don't think we need another corner. And if we do, that could be addressed in free agency. D lineman, yes, for sure. O lineman in the interior, yes, for sure. Wide receiver, hopefully we can figure that out in free agency and maybe pickpocket someone in that situation. You never know, Le'Veon Bell could be someone that we could look at in terms of a dynamic weapon, but I don't think I would rather have a number one receiver. However we figure that out, we need to figure it out. I do agree with you, Brandon, on the O lineman and D lineman part and receiver. This next question comes from Mark. He says, what position should we target in the first 2 rounds of the draft? I think I would like to take a defensive end in the first round, Zach Allen, and an offensive guard in the second round. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that at all. This next question comes from Pat. Pat, he says, Buffalo 415 total yards, Miami 175 total yards. It doesn't make sense. We win, but we didn't win. How do we expect to make the playoffs? First of all, we did win. Winning is winning. I don't care how you win. Winning is winning. How do we make the playoffs? We have to play better on offense. We can. The defense is going to be there. Trust me. Secondary, the pass rush needs to heat up. I've been saying that all year, though. I don't know if it'll immaculately come on in December. Hopefully it does, but the offense just needs to pick up the pace. And I felt like they've played better the last 2 weeks. I mean, Ryan has played 2 pretty good games back-to-back. This next question comes from Bad Bandit. He says, are you disappointed in Charles Harris? I certainly am. This is a great question. 1,000% Bandit. There was a play where Charles Clay looked like a Hall of Fame left tackle and just completely removed him from the game. A tight end, dude. I'm not going to say Charles Harris is a bust, but it's getting to that point where you got to start wondering. This next question comes from Mark. He says, looking to next week, do you think our pass rush will be successful in harassing Brady, giving our secondary has a chance to create turnovers, or will New England simply rely on exploiting our rush defense and subpar coverage from linebackers in the passing game? No, I think the pass rush just needs to be more consistent. It's going to be easier to get TB12 on the ground, that's for sure, but we got to get a pass rush, man. We have to, because the secondary is really special. If we get a top 15 to top 12 in sacks and pass rushing statistics, we could be one of the best defenses, top 5, top 3, easy in the league. But will they exploit us with their I mean, they do that to everybody, getting just picking matchups, and usually it is James White on a linebacker, James White on a safety, something like that. I think it comes down to our offense scoring when they need to, scoring off turnovers, scoring in opportune times. I really feel like that New England game is going to come down to scoring points and just having a successful day on offense. This next question comes from Brandon. He says, not a Dolphins question, but is Kyler Murray in his 3rd year? If we should know, Kyler Murray is, I think he said he was going to play baseball. I don't even think he's going to play football. Corporate Gamer, and I don't think he'll be a good NFL quarterback anyway. He said, Corporate Gamer says, why did our run defense look so bad again? It wasn't our run defense. It was our pass rush lanes. Obviously, that gave up all those rushing yards. Brandon says, this question comes from Brandon. Minka has definitely been a steal, which is why I think we'll trade Rashad if this does happen. What do you think we can target for him? I don't know, man. I really don't. Will says, so this next question comes from Will. He says, so does this prove Drake will get more touches going forward? Conspiracy. Maybe they're trying to preserve Drake for later in the season, so his production is similar to last season's stretch. No. I think we try to get Kenyon the ball more than anybody, to be honest with you, Will. Jimmy says, if we get our 7th loss versus New England. Could you consider playing Luke Falk? I don't even think Luke Falk can play. I think he's been on injured reserve, and he can't play this season. Well, so do you think we'll actually finish the season with the most interceptions? This question comes from, well, do you think we'll finish the season with the most interceptions? What does that say about the defense when there's barely any pass rush at times? This is a lot. This is a lot about the secondary and how good they are. Will, this next question comes from Will. He says, what are our top 5 players this season? Xavier and Drake better be on the list. Of course they are. Corporate Gamer says, in terms of the top 5, I mean, Xavier, Minka, Kenyon, what's that, 3? So 2 more. I already have X. This is tough, dude. Laramie, for sure, hasn't let up a sack all season. And 5th, I would say Brian, probably. Even though he's barely played, but when he has, there's a noticeable difference in the team, especially on offense. This next question comes from Corporate Gamer. He says, I saw an article on Finsided saying one fit for every team in Miami. They will have Will Grier, and does point out that Grier is not the most talented, but points out he does fit in the scheme very well. I don't like Will Grier. Corporate Gamer says Xavier is an elite corner. I don't get why he's still super underrated. Because he's just coming onto the scene. I hope he breaks Paul Krause's single season record for picks. It'd be pretty awesome. This next question comes from Will. He says, what adjustments would you like Gase and the staff need to make for us to make the playoffs? The New England game plan is a different beast entirely. What adjustments would you like to see Gase and the staff need to make for us to make the playoffs? I would say stick to the running game more. I feel like we need to stick to the running game more and make plays in the play action game when they're there on deep passes. So that has been it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm really tired and my throat is killing me. So it's probably why I sound a little dry and kind of low energy. I am Skaxer93. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. And if you do, please show some love. And I'll see you guys in the next one.